Let me ask you something. If you had nothing to hide, would you hide it? If the files were clean, would documents keep disappearing? If the most powerful men in America were innocent, would the Department of Justice keep releasing files in pieces, drip by drip, making survivors relive their trauma over and over again? No, you would not. But that is exactly what is happening with the Epstein files. And the people doing it, the DOJ, the Trump White House, they are not even trying to be subtle about it anymore. This is the story they do not want you to follow. So let's follow it. Here is where we start. The DOJ released a batch of Epstein documents. Big announcement. Big fanfare. Finally, transparency. Finally, the truth. Except the documents relating to the most serious allegations, the ones about powerful men, the ones about sexual assault accusations involving a minor, those were missing, not misplaced, not accidentally left out, missing. Congress went in to look. Members of the Oversight Committee physically went in to review that manifest of documents, and they came back and said the specific files around these allegations are not there. Gone. And here is what makes this even worse. The moment Congress went public with that information, the moment they put it out there that the files were missing, suddenly some of them reappeared. Think about that. Documents that were missing for months suddenly found. The second someone called it out publicly, you know what that tells you? They knew. They knew exactly where those files were. They were not lost. They were not misplaced. They were being held back. And when they got caught, they quietly put some of them back and hoped nobody would notice. That is not a clerical error. That is not an accident. That is the most corrupt Department of Justice in American history doing exactly what it was designed to do, protect the powerful and bury the truth. And they got caught red-handed. But here is the thing. Even after some documents reappeared, 50% of the files are still missing. 50%. Half of the Epstein files, gone. Vanished. Cannot be found. Specifically, the communications between FBI agents, the internal back and forth, the conversations about what they knew, when they knew it, and what they decided to do about it. Those are missing. And it gets more specific than that. Every single document that relates directly to the allegations, the serious ones, the ones involving minors, keeps disappearing. They post them. They're there. Then they're gone again. This is not a filing system problem. This is a pattern. And when you see a pattern like this, documents appearing and disappearing specifically around the most damaging allegations, there is only one explanation. Someone is controlling what you see. Someone is deciding which truths come out and which ones stay buried. And that someone has enough power to reach inside the Department of Justice and move files around like chess pieces. Who has that kind of power right now?
We're talking about the most corrupt DOJ in American history. So we shouldn't believe anything that they're saying. And how convenient that of that manifest of documents that should have been included, that it was the ones about the president and accusations and allegations. Those were the ones that were missing in that one sheet of manifest documents. I mean, give me a break. Nobody believes that. And it was only because of pressure. And I myself went in to look at these documents. I searched for these documents. It was clear that they were missing. And when we put that information out there, I think the DOJ realized that they had been caught red-handed, like they've been caught time and time again on the issue of these documents. To clarify, they have actually posted some of the documents that relate to this one case, but not all of them. We have verified, and so have other independent media, that some of the documents, and it could likely be the communication between the different FBI agents about these allegations, those continue to appear to be missing from the actual document. So we continue to search for those. We can't find those. And it's really interesting that all the documents around these allegations, there are issues with. They're missing. They post them. They're here. They're gone again. And so we're going to watch this, and we're monitoring that very carefully. As it relates to the allegations themselves, what these are serious allegations made by, at the time, by a woman who at the time was a minor that, of course, accused the president of sexual assault. And they are serious. Why they were missing, no one has explained to us, and they need to be investigated. This is someone that was actually interviewed, appears to be 4 separate times by the FBI. For the FBI to go back multiple times and interview this person is significant on its own. And so we have a lot of questions for the Attorney General around this case, and we are heavily investigating this incident, but of course others that appear in the files.
Now let's talk about who is being called in, because this is where it gets very interesting. The Oversight Committee has issued subpoenas, real ones, with actual names attached. Bill Gates, Microsoft co-founder, one of the wealthiest men on the planet, already apologized to his own staff over what came out in the Epstein files. His ex-wife has made her feelings about his association with Epstein very clear. He is coming before the committee. Leslie Groff, Sarah Kellen, former Epstein employees, people with intimate knowledge of who was going in and out of Epstein's homes, they are coming before the committee. Leon Black, co-founder of Apollo Global Management, one of the most powerful figures in private equity, coming before the committee. Doug Band, longtime personal aide and counselor to Bill Clinton, coming before the committee. Ted Waite, tech billionaire, coming before the committee. And then Howard Lutnick, now the Commerce Secretary of the United States. A man who has been, and I am going to use the exact words here, lying through his teeth about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, currently serving in Donald Trump's cabinet. How convenient. And Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, Trump's Attorney General, the person who runs the very DOJ that has been playing games with these files. She has been subpoenaed too. No date set yet. Still to be determined. How convenient. The woman overseeing the investigation into missing files, her hearing date is mysteriously still not scheduled. You cannot make this up. Now I want to stop here for a second, because this story is not just about documents. It is not just about powerful men and missing files and convenient scheduling. There are real people at the center of this. Women, girls, survivors of what Jeffrey Epstein and his network did to them. And every single time the DOJ releases another batch of documents in pieces, drip by drip, never all at once, those survivors have to go through it again. One survivor said it publicly. She said every time files are released, it feels like survivors are just holding on waiting. She said it feels almost deliberate. She asked, why can't there just be one comprehensive release so they do not have to go through this piecemeal? She said, haven't they put us through enough? And she is right. It feels deliberate because it probably is deliberate. But it gets worse than that. Because the DOJ and how they have handled these releases has not just been inconsistent. They have included the names of survivors in the documents, the photos of survivors, released publicly. Think about what that means. These are women and girls who were victims of a trafficking network, who were abused, who are trying to rebuild their lives. And the Department of Justice, supposedly the entity that exists to deliver justice, put their names and faces in public documents, while protecting the names of the billionaires and co-conspirators. The survivors get exposed, the powerful get protected. That is not justice. That is the opposite of justice. That is the DOJ operating as a shield for the people it is supposed to be investigating. And this is happening under Trump, under his DOJ, under his Attorney General, under an administration that promised to release the Epstein files fully and completely. Where are the files? 50% missing. Survivors re-traumatized. Powerful men's names still redacted. This is the transparency they promised you.
And so those are critical pieces of this investigation. There are, of course, others on there, that folks that we want to speak to, anyone that we've said from day one, we don't care what party you're in. If you know Jeffrey Epstein or have information, we want to talk to you. So we look forward to all of these depositions.
Congressman, the drip that we've seen from the DOJ, of course, is frustrating as it relates to your investigation and your effort. One cannot imagine what it means for these survivors. Our colleague Lisa Rubin spoke to a few of them today. This is part of what she wrote. As DOJ releases more Epstein documents, survivors brace for impact. Again, every time files are released, it's like survivors are just holding on, waiting. It feels almost deliberate. Why can't we just have one comprehensive release of all the files so we don't have to go through this piecemeal? Haven't they put us through enough? That's Epstein survivor Marina Lacerda. Have you heard from the survivors about what the sort of latest iteration from DOJ means to them, the impact it's having on them?
I have. I'm in regular contact with survivors directly. I'll just say that it's been just disgusting and horrific what this process has been for them. They're constantly re-traumatized because how the DOJ has handled these releases. And it's not just been the inconsistency. They have blatantly included the names of survivors, the photos of survivors, completely exposed them to the public. And the way they've been so careless has re-traumatized survivors, has put them and their families in danger. And so the protection of them is so important. It's just so infuriating that the White House is more interested in protecting the billionaire men, those that actually were the co-conspirators, names of whom some we can't even see or access yet, and not protect these women who, in some cases, were girls and minors in these photos and in these instances. And so it's hard to see. We're just grateful how strong they remain, but it's outrageous. And these are some of the questions that we're going to ask Pam Bondi when she comes before our committee.
So let me ask you the question that nobody in power wants to answer. Why is the Trump DOJ protecting the Epstein files? Trump spent years calling for the Epstein files to be released. It was a campaign promise. It was red meat for his base. Release the files. Expose the elites. Drain the swamp. He won the election. He controls the DOJ. He has the power to release every single file tomorrow morning if he wanted to. 50% are still missing. His Commerce Secretary is one of the men being investigated. His Attorney General, who runs the DOJ that is sitting on these files, has not even been given a hearing date yet. And the documents that keep disappearing are specifically the ones about allegations against powerful men. At what point do you stop calling this a coincidence? At what point do you look at the pattern, the missing files, the delayed hearings, the protected names, the re-traumatized survivors, and call it what it is? This is a cover-up. Not a Democrat cover-up. Not a Republican cover-up. A billionaire cover-up. A powerful men cover-up. A cover-up by the people who have always run this country, regardless of which party is in the White House, to protect each other from consequences that the rest of us would never escape. Epstein did not operate alone. Everybody knows that. The files exist. Everybody knows that. And the people with the power to release them are choosing not to. That tells you everything. Here is what you need to do. Keep watching this story. Do not let it disappear. Because that is exactly what they are counting on. That you will get distracted, move on, and forget about it. Do not forget about it. The survivors have not forgotten. They are still living it every single day. The least we can do is keep asking the question. Where are the files? Share this video. Because the more people watching, the harder it is to bury. Subscribe, new video every week. And drop a comment. Do you think the full Epstein files will ever be released? Tell me what you think.